Hey. Accidentally started it in portrait mode because that's how I grabbed my phone when I was opening the gate. But it's okay. Who cares? This may not be the best idea because it's kind of raining a little bit right now. But ultimately, well, it's not my fault it's raining. It wasn't raining an hour ago. So, like, what am I gonna change all of my plans now because of that? Well, maybe I should, because my phone is literally falling apart. So it's not particularly waterproof anymore. I don't know, again, what fucking smartphone manufacturers are thinking these days, but you know, if it's not exploding battery, then literally the whole back side of my phone, which is a Samsung, just kind of like came off one day. It started slowly, but yeah, essentially the glue that held the back panel in place, it just disintegrated just entirely. I don't know how long it's been, about 2 years of use maybe, and it just fucking fell apart. Like, could you not use some kind of glue solution that is proven to like hold, you know, for maybe a few years at least? Well, more than 2. Like, why? Why would you use something like that? Are there actually no ways, Samsung, for you to preemptively know whether this glue will actually hold or not? I think there are probably ways to know that. I think for every type of glue solution like that, for every adhesive solution like that you would be using on a big manufacturing, industrial scale, I'm fairly sure all possible research had been done. You probably could, kind of see that. Some reports say that this adhesive solution that we're using will most likely disintegrate in 2 years. Well, perfect, said like Samsung, whatever, like chief engineer officer. Means they will definitely buy the next one. I mean, 2 years is already stretching it. They should be buying a new phone every year. Jesus Christ, guys. I mean, it's not even funny. Well, anyway, I kind of glued it back together. Obviously not very, not as nicely as it was, out of the factory. Although, how nice was it out of the factory is also a pretty good question. If it's such shitty adhesive, it literally falls apart after 2 years. Was it really all that sealing in the first place? Maybe yes, maybe not. Maybe no. We don't know. Well, anyway. I mean, if it dies, it dies. I wanted to make a small statement. Not that it matters, not that anyone will see this, but nonetheless, there's one more game that I completely forgot to add. Well, actually, no, let me completely rephrase that, actually. I didn't think that game was available on anything even remotely modern or available on PC. I thought that game was literally only available on Xbox 360 and maybe PlayStation 3, but possibly only Xbox 360 and only in digital form through the system, quote unquote, that used to be known as Xbox Arcade. The game is called I Am Alive, which is one of the stupidest names for any gaming product ever. At the time the game came out, we've had stupider since, but at the time it came out, it was very questionable. And I totally thought about it when I was writing Memory List originally. Boo Boo actually has a pretty big scratch. It's not even a scratch, it's almost like a patch of fucking like outer skin missing. I am absolutely sure he got scratched here somewhere in the forest area, because there's a lot of prickly bitches, quite a lot of prickly bitches, and Aini is not particularly careful as of late. He's got pretty bold in this area. And the reason I'm taking him here so often is because once kind of like spring / winter is over, it will be literally impossible to get here. It will be absolutely impossible. All kinds of like it's almost like fucking bamboo will rise from under all these leaves. It will be literally impossible. It's like everything in between these little trees here, it will all be bushes. So you won't be able to find a way to this end of the property at all. Yeah, so I absolutely thought about the game when I was writing memory list originally, but then I thought, and I don't know why, by the way, it was a bit of a brain fart moment, I suppose. I didn't think of looking it up, but okay, Mumu, I just saw what you did. Okay, come on, let's go back. I think he literally, like, his leg got caught almost exactly where the cut is. Really fucking retard. Let's go back. You don't get to walk in here for a little while. Okay? Let your underbelly heal a little bit. Like, Jesus Christ, Moo, at least watch where you're going. Like, I can trip and fall, okay? I'm a human. It's understandable. But how can you get your, like, your leg get caught in something while, like, getting over something? No. Okay? If that's the level of cautious you approach this environment with, then we go back. I didn't think to look it up somehow, and the way I remembered it, I was like, yeah, that game is on 360 only, like literally just 360, and it was downloadable only title. Like, it was absolutely never had a bitch in the fuck, whatever, right? Physical release. That's it. Physical release is such a thing of a past that I didn't even remember how to say it. Well, anyway, I assumed that, well, how the hell will anyone play it if it's an old Xbox arcade game available only on 360 on the, like, web shop that probably no longer around. I actually don't know now if it's around. Is 360 still supported? I wouldn't be totally surprised if it was, because it's all the same fucking system, you know, so might as well support 360. But I don't know. Anyway, they released the game on more than just 360. I'm not sure about PS3 or whatever. The game did come out on PC. In fact, the game is available on PC right now. It's on Steam, even. So, I'm not sure about GOG. Probably. I don't know. So strange that it's not even abandonware. It's, like, actually available on Steam. I mean, technically, if it's abandonware, then, you know, it's simultaneously both easier and more difficult to recommend, because people are stupid. They don't know how to look up, like, ROMs or learn how to pirate video games safely, you know, which honestly just takes like you don't even have to go anywhere. Like, you can find all that information on Reddit. Like, where can I pirate video games? Or whatever. And pirating video games is actually very important, because without pirating video games, we would have completely lost access to PC versions. Well, first of all, ROMs is not hacking, right? ROMs is not pirating, because ROMs are versions of console video games that most likely no longer available. If I'm downloading a PS2 ROM, I'm not pirating anything, because that thing that I'm downloading is not available anywhere else. You know, not hurting anyone by downloading that ROM. And if you say, oh, well, you're not supposed to download that ROM, you're supposed to buy a new PC version. Yeah, but if it's a PS2 grade game, the PC version will probably be broken and not work at all, or the port will be horrible. So, you know, the publishers will say that it's my responsibility to track down the most, like, legally available version of the game, while they don't have the responsibility to make sure that that version is actually compatible with modern operating systems, it's compatible with modern hardware, and that it actually works in the first place, maybe. You know? Because if the PC version of your PlayStation 2 game is absolutely fucking terrible, you're gonna blame me for pirating the PS2 version? Really? Instead of buying the PC one? Fuck off. Like, it's not even worth debating. That's it. I just settled it. So anyway, but there is also such a thing as, you know, when games become completely abandonware, and they also have PC versions. Now, PC versions aren't technically ROMs. So remember that open world, whatever it's called, The World Is Yours, Scarface, that like GTA Vice City ripoff game? Yeah, that game is abandonware. If you only play console games, like I do, you wouldn't even know it. But yeah, when I was just kind of like looking something up about it, I noticed that the game is actually abandonware on PC, and it has a pretty okay PC version. That was one of the first like big abandonwares that I came across in recent memory. But since then, I came across a couple more. Actually, I just don't remember them off the top of my head. The Godfather video game might be abandonware, also in open world. Sopranos, remember? I'm just like thinking in the same category, you know, right now. I think that game is abandonware. I think both of those have PC versions. Although I'm not sure about Sopranos, but Godfather definitely has a PC version. And I think it's abandonware, again, on PC. So without pirating, we would completely lose those versions. And some of those versions are terrible, like the PC version of Warrior Within. Who the fuck ever will need the PC version of Warrior Within, right? But some other games actually have pretty, important PC versions. Like, say, Deus Ex is technically available on PS2. Well, would you rather the PC version, if it becomes abandonware, just will disappear? Because it would be pirating if we kept it, you know, from that point on. Like, no, get out of here, right? So anyway, when something is abandonware, and basically the only way to get it is to pirate it, adding something like that to memory list, I kind of didn't feel super comfortable with, because normies would probably just like not figure it out at all. You know, I mean, I'm already kind of gambling with recommending games that, well, objectively those normies could only play on emulators, obviously, and they should. But simultaneously, same normies, at least, I mean, that's a lot to ask of a normie, right? However, well, at least they can look up a literally 3-minute long like tutorial on YouTube on how to do it, where to pirate video games, you know, how to set up your stupid Windows 11 so that you can actually install them, so that the crack isn't being placed in quarantine. You know, that's probably too much to ask of a normie. Like, legitimately, like, that they wouldn't figure out. Like, most emulators don't even necessarily need that big of a setup in order to work. Like Dolphin pretty much works out of the box. Like, yeah, you need to change the resolution. You can look it up. You know, you can change the resolution, change the renderer to Vulkan. You know, make sure anti-aliasing is not enabled. How to apply widescreen patches. Well, for Dolphin, you can look it up. That's not that difficult. For PCSX2, they are actually automated. You know, 60 FPS patches are available for a lot of video games, actually. But as a normie, you probably don't want to care about that. Like, you will either grow into it or whatever. You know, you can play it at 30 FPS. If it's a 30 FPS game, you'll be fine, right? Your experience will not be compromised all that much. In fact, like my, you know, original experience was with the original hardware for every single game I recommend, right? Because I'm an old fuck. And yeah, I was impressed enough by everything I recommend, obviously, to recommend it. So, you know, original performance is totally doable for a lot of these games. Although for some of them 60 FPS patches are available. Yes, I do not talk about that on my memory list. I'm just recommending video games. Like if you need help with emulators, you can just look it up. Like, you don't even have to go to Google, you know, you don't even have to go to Google and look for somebody to have written like a guide on Reddit or something. You can literally ask ChatGPT, like, which emulator is the best for Sega Dreamcast. Redream, but you need to pay if you want to upscale video games, which you want to. Flycast if you just want something open source and whatever. Okay, cool, Flycast then, great. You know, what's the best emulator for PS2? PCSX2, like, no other options, literally. It's just PCSX2. Okay, great. What's the best emulator for, you know, GameCube? Dolphin. Again, boom, no competition. Like, easy, you know? You don't need to do any fucking research to look it up. If you don't know how to look it up, I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. I think you may need to... I think you should probably read a book or two before, you know, reading my memory list and playing video games. So, yeah, but with PC, you know, it's a bit difficult because older PC games maybe, like even from the 360 generation, like take BioShock. You know, I'm not sure about BioShock 2, but BioShock 1 on PC is basically unplayable unless you have 3 hours to fuck with it to make it playable. Like BioShock 1 on PC is basically unplayable no matter which system you play it on. Maybe on Windows XP it works out of the box, not on Windows 7 and not on 11. It's a weird combination of systems. Yeah, I never tried it on 10, but, well, that's how things are, you know. It's just completely fucked. So, yeah, man. If it's an abandonware, it's kind of difficult to recommend to a normie because they're not gonna have a single fucking idea where to pirate video games, and ChatGPT will probably not tell them, and Reddit will be kind of, you know, dodgy. So it's good that I'm Alive is actually not an abandonware. And yeah, when I was writing my memory list originally, I didn't think to look it up and find out that the game is actually available on PC. Not only it's actually available, like, period. I don't know how good that version is, but even if it sucks, like, hopefully mods will have fixed it, and whatever, I'll put it in optional recommendations just because of that. Also, I probably should put Soul Reaver 1 into optional, because honestly, the game is really kind of nothing special. It's just, you know, it does all the things that other games absolutely excel at. Soul Reaver just does it very uniquely. And honestly, the game is probably janky enough and slow enough and old enough to probably not register well with most normies. So I'll put it in optional. And I'll put I'm Alive in optional too, because honestly, the game is so cool and unique. I'm Alive is basically what survival games looked like before like 7 Days to Die and all of the rest of your fucking indie survival, like multiplayer, you know, Steam, early access slop that you guys are playing. Like, I'm Alive is an actual fucking video game with very interesting survival mechanics and kind of like resource management and whatever, kind of like resource hoarding systems. It's very short. I think the game is probably not even 6 hours long, which, well, 6 hours is not necessarily short. I mean, Jesus, like fucking Silent Hill 3, I think, can be finished. In fact, it is finished by most people in 6 hours or even slightly less. So, yeah. But still, you know, for a downloadable title, very obviously, you know, the game was not particularly made on, you know, on the side of, like, making a full-scale game. It was made on the side of, like, whatever. You know, we'll just make something short and sweet. But honestly, with the systems that the game had, I mean, one good thing about it, it definitely doesn't outstay its welcome because of how short it is. So that's technically a plus, because a lot of video games do. A lot of video games that otherwise aren't really all that bad really do outstay their welcome. Like almost every Ubisoft game, for example. I mean, since the 7th generation. But nonetheless, it's, you know, the minus of this situation is that the game also kind of like not, I think, long enough to fully explore its own systems. Nonetheless, it's a super unique game. It's basically what if The Last of Us was more of a video game but less of an experience, plus it has like climbing, like which is portrayed relatively kind of like realistic-ish and hardcore-ish, so like it's not Uncharted climbing, you know. And resource-wise, the game is even more hardcore than something like like The Last of Us pretends to be, you know. Like, it is literally, like, less of an experience and more of a game, The Last of Us. Like, most of the game, you basically have something like one arrow and one bullet in your gun. Like, that's it. And there are quite a few enemies in the game, and there are very interesting systems in it that allow you to actually deal with them despite the limitation that I just noted. Okay, well, we are done with the walk, and I think doggy is okay for now. So, bye. Oui.